So when I joined, I mean, just so you know, actually, I should have introduced myself. So I'm Rory Davidson. I'm the Chief Information Officer, and I look after the teams that build the software that we use to manage the terminology, and the team of terminologists who are the clinical specialists who maintain and author the content. So we build tools to support them, but we also build our software to support members like yourselves and others, and outside of the community, and implementers in your country and globally. We started building software at the beginning of the organization back in 2007, but really we kind of built a lot more software in the last 7 to 8 years to cover all the different angles that you need to tackle when you're managing SNOMED CT, starting with, looking down the list of the things that you said that you've got in your roadmap, distribution, being able to do translation, be able to produce that as a local extension, and terminology services as well. So we do have tools that can probably meet some of your requirements, and some of our tools won't meet your requirements, like every software, but we do our best to try and do that. One of the things that's worth noting is that all the software that we build is open source software. So all the source code is available under an open source license, which means that if you do have teams and capacity who are looking to host these software, then they can. It's available to anybody to run on and host locally on local systems if that's something that you are interested in. So one of the things I'll go do, there's not a lot of slides, and that's kind of on purpose, because really it's to really show you the tools more than necessarily kill you by presentation, basically. So this way we walk through demos of the tools, and it allows you to see exactly what they do and how they can work. So we have we kind of have 3 areas of tools really. One is around browsing the terminology, and you may have seen this already, but I'll walk you through it again in a minute. We have a number of tools that we use to author, and those cover things like a tool to allow you to request new content to the International Edition, and I believe that you'll have a slot about that later on this afternoon. And that's the content request service. We have the authoring platform, which I can give you a short demo on, which allows people to add new content. We have 2 things there. One, the international team obviously uses this to manage SNOMED CT today, but we also have another service you may have heard called the managed service, which is an extra service that some members pay for to manage their extension and our tooling suite. But it is an extra service, just to clarify on that. The reference set and translation tool is a tool that allows us to really create the groups, the reference sets of SNOMED CT. For those of you who don't know, if it hadn't been discussed, but probably I'm sure it was yesterday, reference set is essentially the quickest way to think about a reference set is a subset of SNOMED CT in a way that is suitable for your requirements and meets the direction that you want to go in. We have 2 mapping tools now. We have one mapping tool that we use to map from SNOMED CT to other terminologies or coding systems. Primarily, we use it for ICD-10. We use it for ICPC2, ICDO, Orphanet, GMDN, and so on and so on. And we have another tool that's just gone live which we use to map to SNOMED. This is less of a SNOMED specific tool, but it's called Snap to SNOMED, and that allows you to map from local coding systems to SNOMED and produce a file that you can use in your systems if you so wish. The other one, then we go to the releasing, and the releasing is there's parts of this that are easy and parts of it are very complex. So the MLDS, this is Member Licensing and Distribution Service. This is a service that we use to distribute SNOMED CT, but also make it available to members who can use it as a white labeled type solution. So it's a very quick way for you to distribute SNOMED CT in your country without necessarily having to do anything. It will automatically make the International Edition available, as well as local extensions. And I'll walk through that one in a second. One of the things that we do, and one of the reasons we have this managed service that I kind of referred to, is that the releasing of SNOMED CT is actually quite a complex thing to go through. And that's partly because, as I'm sure you've heard over and over again, as you know, SNOMED CT is a very large terminology. It has over 350,000 concepts. And every time we do a release, we need to make sure that, one, we're not breaking the structure of the terminology. Two, we're not making any clinical assurance issues or safety issues. So there's a lot of validation that goes in, and there's a lot in the authoring platform. There's a lot that goes through the release process. And this is something we call the release validation framework. Again, all of this is open source, so you can go and see, and I'll walk you through our open source repositories later. And finally, we produce statistics on what we release. And it's a very, one way of saying it, it's a pretty way of seeing what's in SNOMED, what we're working on, and what's being released. And it's maybe even more important now as of 3 days ago, we produced the first monthly release. So SNOMED, the International Edition, now is produced on a monthly basis. So those statistics get updated every month. We do have some other tools that are really kind of sit behind some of these things, but they're not necessarily overly useful or relevant to you at the moment. I think they could be in the future. But for now, I think these are really the key ones that we're going to walk through. So I think we're going to start with MLDS, because that's really going through the order that you were saying of things that you wanted to do. Distributing SNOMED is obviously the first thing to do, to get that out to affiliates, to get implementers, and do it in something that's not email, basically. As always, that's never something we track easily. So MLDS. So here we go to MLDS. So some of you may have seen this previously if you've downloaded SNOMED CT before you kind of became a member. And this is the page that you land on if you are coming to SNOMED International. Now, if you're going to a local country, then we have the ability to white label this. And what I mean by that is, if you look down here, these are all the countries that are using SNOMED CT at the moment. And if I go and look in, let's find one. Here, this is the Belgian one. And now it's only subtly different, but it now has a Belgian logo. It explains that this is the NRC in Belgium. And this is where the affiliates in their country will come and register, where they have to basically give some information, say what they're using SNOMED CT for, and then they can download the Belgian extension and the International Edition. But we also have the ability to have this translated. And if I find one that's been translated, here we go. So this is the Portuguese MLDS page, and you can see it's been translated into Portuguese. So there is the ability for you to translate if you wanted to. That is an option. Generally, if you want to do that, what we do is we give you the files, we give you some instructions on how to translate, and then you translate and send them back to us. And then we load it into the system so that you would have this in Thai if that's something that you want to do. I'll go back to English though, because I don't speak Portuguese. On here, basically, all the release packages that the International Edition releases. So you can see here that we have all the international packages that are available. And when you use this as a member, i.e. you use this to distribute SNOMED CT, all of these packages are updated automatically for you. So there's nothing for you to do. All your affiliates will receive an email to say there's a new version of an international package. So it just happens by using this service. So you can see we have the Spanish edition, we have the International Edition, RefSet packages, other artifacts like nursing, the ICNP content, and it goes further and further down. But as you go down, you can see we also have other countries who have extensions. So you're just looking at Belgium again. They have a national extension, and they have a map that they produce themselves. So it also allows you to distribute other things. I think New Zealand's a good example where they have their extension, but they've also released their own reference sets, which are in their own format that they allow people to download. So you can use this service to actually distribute any file you want to. So it's kind of a distribution service. One thing to take into account, and I know this is the case in some countries, you may already have something to distribute standards. The UK, US, Canada, Australia, That's it for the moment. They have their own existing distribution service, so they don't use this because they already use something else. We built this initially for ourselves for affiliates in countries, but then we realized that there are a lot of countries who are still either sending it around by email or shipping DVDs or CDs to different different organizations. So we produced this so that it can be used by members if you want to. And if this is something you want to use, then reach out to Liara, and we can have a more specific session on how to on training how to do that. But it gives the ability for you to manage affiliates as well. So hi, there's questions come up. So the hands up. Is there a question?
I think you are going to talking about the manage the member in the country. So I would like to know that how we gonna get the information about who are registered to use. And the question is that is that automatically how the system know that this request is come from Thailand or from the other country?
So basically that's that question. One, you get a very specific link. So for example, let's take Germany. Okay, they have a link, and up here you see you have a link that you share with your affiliates. It comes directly to the German page. So you get a landing page that you go directly to, and that looks essentially like if I go to the Indian page, it's in, and that takes me directly to the Indian MLDS page. But when you register, so for example, here, if I was registering, and this is what your implementers and affiliates would need to do, it automatically fills in. For some reason, it's filling it in a different language. Not quite sure why. So yeah, you pick the country when you start your affiliate registration, and that then takes you in and keeps you within the country that you are where you live or where the organization is placed, basically. So that's how it picks up where you're going to. So if you were to use this service, then basically you would essentially choose Thailand, and you would keep on, and all your affiliates would keep on coming back to the Thai page. And if it's been translated, they would keep coming back to the Thai translated page as well. So it's built within the system. It doesn't try and check for the IP address of where you've come from. It's more about you choose as an organization, because the moment you've chosen that country, that's where it keeps you in at that point going forward. I see there's a question that's just come up as well. I'll just put the question so we can all see the question. I registered the MLDS account. It's still applying. The approval process works. So I think as a member, so people in the NRC, you do not need to register for an MLDS account because you have a different access. And I'll show you what that looks like now. If I can get back on screen, here we go. So I'll now go back to the SNOMED International page. So I can go away. So either I can go in as an affiliate, and just so you know, when I go as an affiliate, it looks something like, I have to find a test account. See, this has always happened. I've got to remember what no, that's not it. No. I'll come back to that one. But what I'll show you now is what you see when you are a staff member. So if you were running this at NRC, I think it goes to the question about how is your account approved? How do you approve the accounts of affiliates? So when I log in here, what you end up seeing is the applications that your affiliates have made. So you can go through and see, this is obviously the international edition one, so we can see country from all over the countries. But when they apply, you can then go in and approve them. So if I go further down and just pick somebody randomly, for example, here, they go in here, you would go in as a staff member, and you would then approve them, and then they automatically get access to the to download SNOMED CT. So you have a way of managing your affiliates. Here you can see a list of all the affiliates that you would have. So you can deactivate them, you can do whatever you want at that point. So what would happen here, I think, to your question, you wouldn't need to do that because you would have access here automatically. So you would manage the affiliates, and also you have the ability to download the releases automatically. You will go in here and you would download those releases. So one thing we do, and Laura will tell me, and what we do is we set up the accounts for you to be able to log in here, and we'd have a separate session where we would train you how to use it. What you need, it's not very complicated. It's quite quick and easy, but you do not need to apply as an affiliate. So I think your account is probably waiting as an affiliate. I bet you if I kind of no, I'm trying to work out what email address you might have come. No, yeah. See, there we go. Sure, I can't. Sorry, it's still applying. I think it's been put on hold mainly because it's not set up yet as a member country. So you would normally, if you put Thailand, you would go to the Thailand NRC, not to SNOMED. So here you can see it's come to SNOMED International. So when we set that up, if this is what you want to use, then this would appear very much as a Thai affiliate. But you yourself, you don't need to set up this particular account. So
thank you.
Cool, no worries. But the information, I mean, you get a lot of information about, so I'll find some of my test accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you go. Here's one of my test accounts. You can tell it's a great account test with lots of letters on it, obviously. But the type of questions that an affiliate gets asked is, what are you using it for? What type of organization are you? Are you personal? Is it organizational? Is it for development? Is it for deploying in healthcare scenarios? You have all the contact information. You also ask them to produce a usage report, which basically kind of says, here, if I can see, it says, this is the usage report for these years. This is my current usage. This is what I want to do. And this is why I'm trying to download SNOMED UT and the status of my implementation. And I think that's just useful information to understand what your affiliates are doing with SNOMED UT and how they're using it. So we use it for as much as information to feed into the NRCs and to SNOMED International. They can also actually apply for an extension in another country. So if, for example, you had an affiliate in Thailand who wanted to apply for an, I don't think it's somebody, so South Korea uses as well. If for some reason you wanted to apply to use the South Korean extension, they could do this through this tool. So they just apply directly to the other extension, and that NRC can then approve them. So there's some very nice little things to do. You see, I've got licensed. It asks for how many hospitals are working in, what's the name of the hospitals, and how many primary care practices as well. So plus other activities. So there's a lot of information that goes in here. And the first time they do it, they have to fill this all in. There is a manual process where you need to approve the affiliates, but once they're approved, now I should be able to log in. Now I know the email I'm using. So if I log out of this one, and I now log in with this. Here we go. So this is what an affiliate sees. So an affiliate sees, here's my usage reports. Here are the applications that I've made. So I submitted an application to Denmark, but I've been approved in international and in Sweden. And I can download all these packages. I'll just click on it and it gives me information about the package. And then I can just click on the document to download. And each time you agree to the license, and you can extend the license yourself as well as a member country, so you could translate it. And then it just goes to the usual download. So nothing magic there. So it's a simple system. I mean, we kind of recommend that if you don't already have an existing distribution system, it's useful to use because it's just there. And all you need to do is to say, either you want to translate it, which of course then is a bit of work. If you don't, then you just need to give us your logo. We put the logo here. As I said, this is just the international one. But if you go and let's pick a different one this time, this is Norway. So there's the Norwegian one. They all look the same, different languages, just a different logo. So if you want to use this, we can set that up very quickly. Just let us know and we can make that happen. Okay, so MLDS, yes. Hands up.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, this MLDS is for SNOMED and extension distribution, right? What if we already have some existing terminology? Can that be distributed in Excel? Can we put it here too, or we have to convert it to the SNOMED extension first?
No. So this is, whilst we call this MLDS for SNOMED, ultimately it's just files. So yes, you could put other things. So for example, if I'll show you how you do that. So here we have this thing called release management, and it means that when you create a new release, I'll find a different country. Here we go. Let's go to Argentina. So for example, in Argentina, they've got this here, which is these are not SNOMED files. These are any files they want to make available to local affiliates. So yes, you could have a zip file of Excel or a zip file of Word, and you just need to create it up, and that you can distribute that as well. So yeah, it was built to distribute other things. It's obviously, it means that the beauty from a member point of view is that you automatically get the international updates without having to do anything. So that's all done built into the system. But if you wanted to distribute other stuff, you could do that as well. And it means that when you publish this, all the affiliates get an email that something's available to them. So all the things that you expect to do. You can also, there's a post announcement thing that allows you to send a message to all your affiliates in one go. So it's a nice little tool that means you don't just have to rely on emails and sharing zip files everywhere. So